My name is JK. I am the operations manager at bitfish. bitfish has a bunch of projects we're working on. We're trying to become sort of the infrastructure provider for multiple blockchains. One of our biggest projects under bitfish is stake.fish, which is where we have most of our validators. So validators are basically the new miners, if you want to call them, in the proof of stake world. I'm here today to talk briefly about where staking is right now. Let me start off before I go into the slides by saying that it's very, very early on for staking. A lot of things I discussed today may not hold true in the next few months. This is primarily because a lot of the proof of stake based blockchains have just started to launch. Tezos and EOS has been here around, have been on mainnet for like about 6 months. So there's a lot of things, mechanism designs that needs to be fine-tuned in the next few months. And so I expect a lot of things to change, but here I am just to show you guys and discuss where things are right now and sort of some of our observations. bitfish, stake.fish was founded by Wang Chun. He is the co-founder of F2 Pool, one of the biggest mining pools of Bitcoin and Ethereum. He wanted to contribute something similar in the proof of stake space, which is why he created bitfish, where we're trying to create these staking pools. Stake.fish currently has a BP on the EOS mainnet. We also have a Loom validator, and we also have a Cosmos validator. We were ranked number 3 when I was creating these slides. We are now ranked 2, thankfully to our community members. And we plan to add support for Tezos soon, and a lot more other POS chains that are going to be launching in the next few months. So why are we interested in staking? So it comes from our thesis that proof of stake based blockchains will constitute around like 40–50% of all the blockchains that in the next 2 to 3 years. And there's a lot of opportunities in this space, primarily because it's very new and there has been a lot of research done at this point, such that we have conviction that definitely at least 40–50% of all blockchains will be staking based. We believe that although there are still more progress to be made, we believe staking could actually be a strong alternative to proof of work mining. It'll take us some time to get there, but we believe it's well on its way. So this is just a rough categorization of some of the staking-based projects. There's the proof of stake-based projects, EOS, Cosmos, Tezos, Loom Network, and then there's work token models like LivePeer, where mostly the staking model is based on like, we have a stake and we're able to transcode video. And then there's also a third category where you're able to lock up funds in Uniswap, MakerDAO to earn yields there. But for today, since we are a validator, we're going to be focused on number 1. All the numbers and all the insight I provide from this forth is all going to be pretty biased from the validator's point of view. So happy to hear what the funds and the token holders are thinking, but just keep that in mind. So just in case you're not aware of what staking is, this is just a simple diagram to show you what we do in a nutshell. We as validators, we have we are able to produce blocks on the blockchain. Some of the delegators, they might want to run their own validators, but maybe they don't have the technical capabilities or really don't want to. So they can then choose to stake with us validators and then earn a portion of the rewards that comes from us adding blocks to the blockchain. Now, just to dive into sort of some of the statistics, some of where things stand right now. So we see definitely a huge increase in the share of staking projects just based on CoinMarketCap. Even in 2017, there was about like 20% of the projects in the top 20 were staking based. In 2018, we saw that share increase to 45%. I separated out the planned proof of stake projects primarily because you see Cardano and Ethereum who are still working to move to proof of stake. And then even looking at some of the IEOs, which is one of the hot topics of this year, you can see there's a bunch of IO projects, and everything colored in green are all going to be using staking related mechanisms in their project. And you can see like, ooh, there's only 2 projects that are not going to be using staking in their mechanism. So roughly of the entire money that was raised through IEOs, 90% of them were all for staking-based projects. We also see projects around staking increasing. These are some of the headlines that were publicly announced. There are many more other interesting developments outside of this, especially privately, because they are mostly in stealth mode. So definitely the interest is increasing around the staking industry. Right now, I've created a diagram for the top 50 projects that actually, based on CoinMarketCap, that are actually using staking, how much percentage of the tokens in circulation are actually being staked. On EOS, so just one note on EOS, there's 2 numbers there. The first one is how much is staked, but on EOS, interestingly, they have a separate voting system to select who are going to be adding blocks. So the actual number of tokens that are being used to vote who the next validators will be is 29%. So just a note on why there are 2 separate numbers there. But essentially, you can see largely that there's a whole lot of staking that's going on. And just the weighted average of all these projects that are using staking, about 45% is being currently staked right now. I expect this ratio to increase a lot once people are more aware of why they need to stake, which I'll get into a bit later. Now let's jump into like the total number of dollars here that are being staked. EOS is by far the biggest, primarily because they are in the top 10 based on market cap. There's around $2.4 billion that are being staked. And the total top 50 market cap was $172 billion last week. The number has probably increased a fair amount since then. Of this 172 billion, $5 billion were in total were being staked. That's a huge amount. It's only 3% right now of top 50 market cap. I expect that to increase by a whole lot. Here's just a rough diagram of like how much staking probably in terms of dollar amount that is locked up will go up by. So starting from the $5 billion at first, if the staking ratio from 45% increases to 65%, which I fully expect to happen, you get another $2.3 billion locked up in staking. And then if all of the top 50 projects, such as Ethereum, actually move to staking, I see another, 15 to $16 billion being staked. And then there's a lot of, again, as I mentioned, there's a lot of proof of stake-based projects that are launching this year. That's an additional around like $8 billion that are going to be staked. And so potentially in the next 1 to 2 years, I expect the $5 billion amount to jump to $30 billion in total being staked. Oh, and these are our hypotheticals and estimates, so just keep that in mind. And so there's a lot of players in this space, a lot of different platforms, incumbent platforms that are looking into staking, but there's also many newcomers. That's the category single chain validator, multi-chain validator that I've put up there. These are people who have foreseen that staking is going to be a big business and have all entered in. That's including us, Stake.fish. But I definitely see a lot of other players entering into the validator space. We already see Polychain Capital that launched their Polychain Labs. We see exchanges entering in there. We see wallets. We see mining pools, and we see custodians. And I expect this list to explode in the next few months. But so far, it's been mostly all the multi-chain validators that have been exploding in numbers so far. So what do we do? What do we do as validators? We spend an insane amount of time trying to understand the different staking projects. That's one of the main value that we as validators provide. All the different staking-based projects have different mechanism designs, have different flavors, and it takes an insane amount of time trying to understand each of them and trying to see the new governance proposals that are happening there. So even, I've only picked 4 projects here that we've actually spent an insane amount of time researching on. And you can see even there, like the inflation rate is all different. For Loom Network, there's no set inflation. They've already printed all the tokens that will be ever released, and they're just distributing them based on staking. And then you can see there's definitely a lot of different different numbers for the total number of validators that will exist. So slashing is a mechanism where if you try to cheat the proof of stake consensus, you get penalized. That's what slashing means, in case you don't know what, in case you weren't aware. But even for slashing, there's definitely different parameters. On EOS, I didn't write down what exactly the slashing is because it's not defined in code. Rather, it's a social consensus on EOS because the token holders vote for who will be producing the next block. If you try to cheat, you could fully expect that people will stop voting for you. And so that's why I didn't have what the exact slashing method for EOS was there. And on EOS, some of the rewards that are, so like the rewards that come out from producing blocks are not distributed out to the token holders, at least so far. There are going to be changes to that in the next few months. And this, again, comes back to the point that all of this staking mechanisms are pretty in their premature stages. And I fully expect things to be pretty volatile when they're trying to define, when they try to settle down on what staking mechanism works. We as validators, as I mentioned, we also spend a lot of time trying to figure out all the governance that is going on. I'm going to focus in on Cosmos governance as an example. So far there have been 7 proposals that have been made on Cosmos, and only 5 of them have completed their voting period and their discussion period. Proposal number 6 and 7 is still ongoing. But we've, at least for Cosmos, we've seen a pretty good turnout of voting. Roughly, the average voter turnout was about 74%. And hopefully this keeps going on. For Tezos as well, they had a recent Athens governance vote, which had a pretty good turnout as well. So we validators try to spend a lot of time trying to figure out what the governance implications are and try to share that with our community. But it does take a lot of time for sure. So does this mean that running a validator is going to be a very lucrative business? At least so far, from our initial calculations and what we see, we don't think so. We see a lot of people thinking, ooh, proof of stake is going to be big and try to enter into the validator business. I caution that highly. And here are some 2 interesting statistics to show you why. So on EOS, when EOS launched, there were 21 BPs that were voted in. Of those, right now, only 50% of them are still in the top 21. So the other ones all dropped out of the top 21. Now, on EOS, if you're in the top 21, you earn around 700 EOS. Whereas if you're in standby, you earn only half of that. So it's a huge difference. And you can imagine that the ones that have dropped out of the top 21 are probably not really faring well at this point. And then of the top 21, of the starting Genesis EOS BPs, I've identified a few independent ones. And of those, again, only half of them are right now in the top 21 earning any rewards at all. On Cosmos now, when the validators started out, so us validators, we charge fees to the stakers that stake with us because, again, we provide value by monitoring all the projects, we monitor the governance, and we actually operate the servers that actually create the blocks. we charge fees on, of course, to our stakers. And when Cosmos started off, the share of validators that was charging over 5% was, under 5% was pretty low. You could see in the first bar, the light shaded green, it wasn't that high. But then now, just last week, you could see the number of validators that are charging less than 5% fees are already up to 25%. So it's already getting pretty competitive, and it's been only 2 months since Cosmos mainnet launch. So there's going to be a lot of competition in the validator space. And so I caution you if you think, I'll just run a validator because it's a lucrative business. So again, takeaway, please try to do comprehensive due diligence on the economics of running a validator. If you think you can make it work, that's great. I'd be curious to hear why you think so. And then all the validators right now, they try to differentiate themselves by saying that they have good security. But for stakers, for people who have no technological background, that's very hard to really convince. So I advise that if you truly are going to run a validator, try to differentiate yourself by adding value outside of just providing a top-notch security. On top of course, providing the top-notch security. And we've seen a few interesting business models that have popped up. We saw validator as a service. This is where because you have the technological background, you talk with people who don't have the technological background, but just the money to run the money. You provide the validator, you spin up the validator and just sell it to these people. We also see some consultancy popping up, and then we have also incubators, mostly on EOS, where the EOS BPs are trying to help dApps spin up their dApps on EOS. Now shifting to gears from just a message to the validators to to a message to the token holders. This is roughly the reward rates right now on the top proof of stake based blockchains. Right now, the average reward rate is about 7.6%. So if you hold tokens, you should make sure to try to stake, especially if it's a staking-based project. I'll briefly explain why in the next slide. This is a hypothetical, modeling of how the token balances will change over time. So let's start off with the Cosmos example, which the native tokens are called atoms on the left. So the black line is the total number of tokens in circulation over time, from year 1 to year 5. Now, the solid blue line is what happens if you stake as an atom holder. And the dotted blue line is what happens if you don't stake. Staking should not be considered as an interest-bearing way, honestly. It's not a way it's not some bond, it's not some loan. It's just a way to make sure that you don't get diluted. If you don't stake, your share of the network is just decreasing. I'm happy to talk more about this, but I think there's a misconception that staking is basically similar to earning interest. No, it's not. It's really about making sure that you protect your share of the network. Similar to Loom, similar story in Loom. If you don't stake, your share of the entire network. So the red dotted line over the black line, you could see it decreasing. You need to absolutely stake if you have if you have tokens in a proof of stake blockchain. Otherwise, you will get diluted. So again, key point, it is necessary to stake if you have tokens in a proof of stake blockchain. Like a really easy mental example. For example, if a proof of stake blockchain, say, including all the dApps and everything built on top of it, has $1 billion network power. You don't expect the $1 billion to suddenly increase to $2 billion because you're just printing another $1 billion worth of tokens. Even if you print, the power of the network, the total value of the network will remain the same. Your share will just decrease if you don't stake. Please, please stake. Many institutions, and I categorize all the funds and exchanges and the wallets here, they've been entering in this space. We've personally talked with a bunch of these platforms already, and we've been giving them honest advice on how to approach this. Because they also realize that if they don't stake, they're going to lose their share of the market, of the network power is just going to decrease. So if you're not able to talk with me today, here's a rough calculation that you could do. The only two things that you need to compare is the cost of delegating versus the cost of running a validator. And here are some bullet points to consider in each of those costs. I would not discard how much time it takes to monitor these projects. It takes an insane amount of time, again, because these networks are running 24/7, and teams are globally distributed. So it's not enough. It takes an insane amount of time just to catch up on the messages that have been shared while I sleep, basically. Here are some observations, honest, frank observations that I want to share from our point of view. So the way we make our decisions on which network to support really largely depends on whether the rewards from the fees that we collect from running a validator makes up for the cost of running a bare metal server, cloud servers, and then make some margin, of course, because we need to pay our operational overhead and at least make some margin from it. We see a lot of people just only consider so for slashing, again, it's a penalty. It's a penalty put on validators that actually try to cheat the proof of stake mechanism. We see projects only considering the total amount of funds being slashed. Well, what they really overlook is that there's a lot of reputation that's on the line. For example, if any validator gets slashed at all, the token holders are likely not going to trust that validator ever for any other projects. So there's a lot of reputation also on the line for validators. We also saw a few projects making jump to conclusions too soon regarding their mechanism design, especially at the beginning of the network. We caution that. Again, a lot of these parameters on a proof of stake, most of them are mathematically proven, and the teams spend a lot of time trying to stress test them. But at the end of the day, there's still not enough data points to really double down on a given parameter. So we caution projects to really let the markets play out for some of their staking mechanisms before trying to make a change to their code base. And then security right now is being really overlooked in the staking industry. We and other validators that we know spend an insane amount of time making sure that our servers are based in a very safe location, that they have backup servers in place, that they have sentry nodes, they have all these security measures in place. But again, it's so hard to convince the token holders of this, because it's not like we could share what security measures we're putting in, because again, that's just a roadmap for the hackers to just telling them, hey, this is what we're doing. Try to find some of the security holes for us. So we can't really share the details of how we're putting up the security. So we definitely see a real need for a tool to try to see how secure some of these validators are. Some of the problems, which also could mean opportunities that we see in staking. Compared to proof of work, because staking, your ability to produce a block largely depends on the amount of tokens that you get delegated or that you hold. Token distribution becomes becomes much more important than any of the proof of work based blockchains. We saw some interesting ideas. Algorand, we've heard that is going to try to do a Dutch auction. New Cypher also released a medium interesting blog post about work clock, which I recommend checking out. So there are teams really thinking about how to make their token distribution a bit fair, but it's to be seen whether or not any of these achieve the end goal that they want. The tokens, when they're staked, are locked up. So you can't trade them if you've staked a token in a network. So there's definitely, that's a problem, and there's definitely an opportunity there. We are aware of a few projects that are working on trying to make them more liquid. You could easily imagine that this is a great place where financial products might come into play. Price volatility is also an issue. For us, the costs are unfortunately denominated in fiat, but our revenues, so basically the block rewards times fees that we collect, are going to be in tokens. So there's a huge mismatch there. In a crypto winter, it definitely hurts. There's also a huge question mark on regulatory issues. The compliance and legal risk right now are unclear anyways for all the exchanges and all the ICOs, IEOs right now. Staking being even the newer sort of industry that has spawned in the blockchain space. Of course, the regulators haven't really gotten down to really looking into staking yet. So there's a lot of regulatory risk here, and we've personally been talking with a lot of law firms, and we still plan to do so in the future. But there's also a huge question mark there, and an opportunity if you're really looking to try to get your feet wet in staking. And then another problem is that there's not enough transparency on governance in the projects. What I mean by that is we as validators spend a lot of time on governance, but it's also our responsibility to try to translate some of the governance discussions into the layman's words to the token holders. So there's a clear lack of transparency there, and we definitely see a need for better governance transparency. So to sort of wrap it all up, let me boil down what's next in staking. So the Cosmos launching this March was just the beginning. We see a lot of staking-based projects launching their final test nets, saying that their mainnet will launch in the next few months. So fully expect the entire industry to blow up. Think back about when I mentioned that there's only $5 million, around $5 million locked up in staking right now. That will probably balloon up definitely north of $10 billion by the end of the year. You'll see a lot of the incumbent crypto platforms launching support for staking. We saw like I'm Token, for example, their wallet, also they don't run their own validator, started to support staking. It's really easy to think about the second point there. So imagine you have short-term holdings in your exchange. Private keys are important, but you still might have a small amount sitting on exchanges. Would you want to use an exchange that supports staking or not? It's quite simple. So that's why I see a lot more platforms going to try to get are going to try to support staking in one way or another. And then we, of course, expect a host of new interesting businesses, a whole new host of tools and infrastructure to launch regarding staking. And we encourage you to also explore these if you haven't yet. Again, validation, more so than validation, there's a lot more opportunities in trying to build out some of the infrastructure tools for staking. So that's it from me. If you want to learn more about staking, or if you want to stake yourself, or if you're even not sure about whether you should stake or not, we're happy to knowledge share. We're pretty open about this. Staking is just so early on that it's really not the time to be competing, but rather trying to collaborate. I believe I'm the only one who has a bright green shirt in this entire conference. So it's going to be pretty easy to find me. So please find me or reach out to me at that email address, or my Twitter handle is at the bottom below. Thank you.